Hello, everybody. I'm Jacob Azevedo, and welcome back to episode 2 of... Wait, what's this podcast name again? Oh, yeah. The podcast without a name.
I've been trying to make it for some time, but all I see is enemy.
Today is Christmas, also known as December 25th, and to get into that holly jolly mood, what better way than talk about an assassination that recently happened? Because isn't that just holly and jolly and fun? Oh man, I don't know why I sound like that. I sound like a robot AI. Anyways, today we're gonna be looking into a story that's been pretty much all over the headlines, and that is the assassination of the HCU healthcare CEO. Honestly, it's from what I've seen, it's a controversial and like emotional. I've seen a lot of emotions run through this, as well as, I don't even know. It's pretty much just controversial. I don't know. Emotional, kind of. And I'll try my best to say, unbiased, but you're really quickly going to see I'm a bit biased towards someone. But I do not encourage or condone anything that happened. So we got to start from the beginning, start with the facts, and that is that the CEO of the HCU Healthcare, who was a major player in the U.S. healthcare system, he was recently assassinated, and the act sent shockwaves through the nation. And for many, it's been seen as a tragedy, and it's understandable. A man lost his life, and that's sad. No matter who it is, it's a tragedy when someone dies, and that's something that we shouldn't really take lightly. But to other people, it's a sign of growing frustration with a healthcare system that, to be honest, has left countless Americans struggling. And I will be completely honest and clear with you guys, this is not a black and white issue. This isn't like a left or right or whatever you guys want to think. It's not that. And to actually understand the situation, we kind of have to talk about the HCU. Man, that is hard to say. That is going to be a little pet peeve of mine. The HCU healthcare and the man at its helm. The man of the hour. Might not want to say that. And to be honest, the CEO, he was never really a beloved figure, and this is because under his leadership, the HCU became pretty much synonymous with the skyrocketing premiums and denied claims, as well as like profits that just seem to prioritize the shareholders like over the patients, which is something you really shouldn't do. Like, I don't know. I'm just like a 17-year-old doing a podcast to two people who might be listening, but I personally think that you shouldn't be prioritizing shareholders over like literal healthcare patients, but that's just my opinion. And there were stories of people literally losing their homes and going bankrupt and even dying because they couldn't afford the care that they needed. And these stories of people having these horrible things happen to them, they just became common, and all too common at that. And to many, this CEO represented everything wrong with the American healthcare system. He was the devil of the healthcare system. Now it's kind of time to talk about the person who was behind the assassination itself. And it wasn't just a random act of violence. We didn't have a random dude who just walked up and was like, that man right there, I don't like him. Like, that's not what happened. And from what we know, the assassin was somebody who, and I am right. This is going off of a script I wrote a little bit ago, and I was not completely up to date on the situation. So as I read, if I see anything that is outdated, I'll tell you guys. Should have said that at the beginning, but I might add that. Anyways, from what we knew at that point, the assassin was someone who had been deeply affected by the flaws in the system, and his family's life was like devastated by medical bills after years of fighting to a system that was just felt like it was designed to crush people. He snapped, which is not, looking back at it, this isn't what happened. I guess you could say that, but Luigi was a smart man. He wasn't a dumb man by any means. From what I know, he actually he went to college or something like that. It's like this man had a good life ahead of him. And am I condoning what they did? No. Violence is not the ideal solution, but can we actually understand how someone might have reached that breaking point? Absolutely. I completely see how this man could have gotten to that point. Gotta get a drink. Man, that's good. Merry Christmas again, everybody. Now, this is kind of where the complexity... Man, I cannot say that word. This is where it really gets complex. And that is the fact that the actions of the assassin, they have really made a massive debate get sparked. Not just about, like, the morality of his choice, but moreover about the desperation that actually led to it. And people, from what I've seen, have started asking themselves if the system has actually worked in the way it's supposed to. Like, would this have actually ever occurred? And clearly not. And this question is what forces us to look more inward than anything else and kind of just examine the way that our society treats us, and not just us, but the most vulnerable among us.
Among us.
Oh my gosh, I'm 17. I'm almost 18. I gotta stop. Anyways, on to the next part, and that is that really this brings us to the bigger picture. And oh gosh, who's at the door? Nope, that's me dropping stuff. I'm actually going insane. Anyways, sorry. So, let's be honest. This is taking us to the bigger picture, and that bigger picture is the United States healthcare system. Now, I am the most pro-American person you'll ever meet, besides maybe, like, that, holy smokes, how do I not know his name? Uncle Sam. There we go. Besides Uncle Sam, I'm probably the most patriotic person you'll ever know. And even then, I can still point out the fact that our healthcare system, it is very flawed, and it's no secret at that. We're literally the wealthiest nation in the world, and millions of Americans every day literally go without basic healthcare. And yeah, we've got pharmaceutical companies, but they're charging humongous prices for literal life-saving medications. Like, that's not cool. And insurers, they just deny coverage for, like, very essential treatments. And then you have, like, hospitals who just send patients into financial ruin. Oh, what was that? You took a 2-minute ambulance ride? $20,000. Don't worry. We're actually feeling nice today. We'll give you a little bit of a sale. We'll put it that way. $30,000. Like, what? That's crazy. And it's the whole thing is quite the complicated situation, because it's not gonna be something that's solved overnight. And through all this, pointing at these hospitals and these pharmaceutical companies and all this stuff, we can't really also forget about the fact that there are politicians who have allowed this to continue. Like, they have the power to stop this, but they decide not to. And this is, in my opinion, because they don't stop it, because it's a way to pretty much just rake in campaign contributions and let us suffer, but hey, anything for that extra dollar. And when you got someone like this alleged assassin who took matters into their own hands, and it forces us to ask hard questions. And these questions are, like I said, very hard. I said that twice. That sounded really weird. My fault, chat. And the questions that I have thought up are, is this really the only way to make change? Like, how have we let it get to this point? That's what really kind of messes with me, is the fact that as a nation that's as advanced as we are, we had to take the life of a man in order to make this big of a change. And even now, nothing's really changed except for a lot of people's attention getting turned to the situation. And like, should it, like I said, really take an act of violence to get this attention drawn? Like, it's a pretty grim thought, but at the same time, history has shown that sometimes the most drastic actions are the ones that like get results. And the best way I could relate this to something is like the labor strikes or protests, or I mean, probably even going as far as to say like revolutions. And these actions were not peaceful all the time. Like labor strikes and protests, you have ones that are peaceful and some that are not. But in the end, they all brought attention to like the injustices. Man, I am struggling tonight. And the injustices that couldn't be ignored. They all brought attention. And at the end of the day, we just got to be honest with ourselves. And that is that the justice system also, it's not exactly impartial in cases like this. The assassin, Luigi, he's being painted as a monster by the media, a cold-blooded killer. And is this fair? Absolutely not. He is, I feel, not, well, okay. The way to look at this is the media, once they have an idea of what they want the world to think, that is what they're going to push. And I feel like that isn't right. So that's what makes me think that this man should not be completely painted over. I feel like he did something wrong, but for a good cause. That's the way I see it. And it is easy to villainify someone, but it's also at the same time harder to just look in the mirror and kind of like acknowledge the problems that got us to this point. And what's happening now is important. It's people rallying behind a case, and not just because they support it, but because they are desperate. And it's also not because they support violence. It's not because they're saying, oh yeah, we should go kill all CEOs. Like, no, that isn't it. It's because they are desperate for change. There are petitions that are being made. Protests are actually being organized, and conversations, as I'm having with you, are beginning to form. And that is something that I can get behind. This is something that I feel even the assassin, Luigi, didn't really think would happen in the end. And for the first time in a long time, people are starting to actually kind of wake up to the reality that our healthcare system, it's not just flawed, it's low-key just cruel. Like, it's literally just abuse. And to say the outcry has been immense is, in my opinion, a huge understatement. Because, like, on one side, you have people who see this as a absolutely horrendous, horrible, disgusting crime, and are, like, demanding justice for the CEO and calling for the harshest punishment for the assassin. Like, get this man on a guillotine. He is done. Kill him. He is out of here. Horrible person. And then you have the other side, which is basically people who, like, pretty much view this as just a desperate act of rebellion. See this as a man's last resort, per se. And the two sides are arguing about this back and forth with, as I said, the first side, and as I also said, the second side, just going at each other. which kind of brings up the question of what happens next. In my opinion, that's up to us. It's not a thing that we can just let happen. We have to be part of it, and we have to keep the conversation going. Or at least that's what I think. Once again, I'm a 17-year-old. What do I have to say? And we need to, or at least the adults do, but us youth can as well, demand... oh man, I started reading the script. I looked away for a second, and I was like, I almost said, we need to start demanding justice for the CEO. And I was like, what in the world? I don't remember writing that. No, but we need to, like, demand accountability from our leaders and the massive corporations that people like the CEO lead. And through all this, you have to support each other, and especially the people who've been affected by the system itself, because I keep saying alleged because that's what I wrote, because I didn't know for a fact, the known assassin, his actions were extreme, but they've completely shown a spotlight on the issue, and it cannot be ignored anymore. And we should also use this as a time to look at the, like, systematic changes it could inspire. Low-key, this part of the script, I'm just gonna skip over. This is just stuff I already said. And at the end of the day, it's not really me trying to tell you, like, how to feel. I'm not being like, you guys should go and feel this way. Like, that's not what I'm trying to do. What I'm trying to do is, like, you know, I'm trying to just think about it. Think about this entire situation. Think about what you can do to either help or get the word out or spread at least some form of, like, I don't even know the word, knowledge, not knowledge. I'm just going to say spread the word, even though that don't sound right. Basically, that's about it, guys. Thank you for listening. Thanks for tuning into this episode. If you have thoughts, opinions, or even, like, stories that you'd like to share, I personally would love to hear them. And you guys can just comment them. If you're listening on YouTube and Spotify, head over to YouTube. With then, take care of yourselves. Thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed, and have a great day.
For some time, but